All right. It being 5 o'clock, I call this meeting of the Education Committee to order. I mailed out but before we do that, let me take roll here. Commissioner Bradley, Commissioner Stephanie Bradley, Commissioner Haley.
Here, sir.
Right. Commissioner Stroud. Here. Right. Commissioner Woodard, Commissioner Darrell Woodard, absent, and the chair being here. We have 3 out of 5, so we do have a quorum. All right. I had mailed out a copy of the minutes. Did everyone have a chance to look over those?
I did. I move that we accept the minutes as written.
All right. Motion by Commissioner Haley.
Second.
And second by Commissioner Stroud. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. 3 out of the 5. We declare that the minutes are approved. At this point in time, we won't kill any time and let Dr. Causey move on with the update.
Appreciate that. If you look, I emailed the agenda out as well as a whole lot of documentation, and we won't necessarily go page by page, but I wanted everyone to have it because they're the documents that the board reviewed on Monday nights, not only the planning session, but also during the board meeting itself. So I always like to try to go through the agenda and make sure that everything that you see at a commission meeting here in a couple of weeks, you will not have seen for the first time. So the first thing that the board voted on Monday night were 2 separate budget amendments. And I'm going to I'll go through them. The second one's already been voted on by the budget committee, but the first one has not. And the first one is the large one. If you look at it, it is a total of $1.1 million and some change. And if you look at your packet, the first page is balanced budget all by itself. Meaning that if you look at the revenue amendments for the $1,115,838.38, most of these are state grants that we've received this year. The miscellaneous refunds is a train tax credit that they presented to us a couple months back at the board meeting. Other local revenues is United Way grant that we're very lucky to get through Ace Tenenmeyer and her group. There is a basic education funds. When we talk about an increase in BEP, back in the special session, the governor actually signed a bill that increased BEP funds by 2% for this semester. I think it's the first time in a long time I remember getting an increase in the middle of the year that we got an increase for. Usually it's for next year's budget. So we actually got, they reran the BEP formula that they use, and they increased it by 2%. And then they cut it in half because the increase only happened from January to the end of the year. So we were actually, if you look at that number, it's 536,000. Because of that number, all staff in Robertson County will be getting a stipend. We can't call it a bonus because there's different rules for that. They'll be getting a stipend in their June check. Instead of a pay raise, a little bit of money every single month, we're going to give them one stipend. BEP doesn't cover everybody in Robertson County. So we do have some federal money through the ESSER grant, kind of like COVID money, that we're going to be able to carry out that. It looks like right now it's going to be about a $500 stipend for every certified teacher and nurse, and $250 for every classified member of the county. That's a lot.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
So we're going to do it, but we're going to do it in June. And then if the governor's budget passes, there's going to be another 4% increase in BEP coming up for the 21-22 school year. So that's the raise that our teachers are going to get in the fall are going to be pretty substantial compared to what they've gotten in the past on the state level. The other state revenue is this a Seatbelt grant for $38,000. I think we've talked about that before. We will keep on applying for that sucker until they stop offering it. So, and then a technology grant, internet connectivity grant, all of those happened during COVID. And then the insurance recovery is from 2 bus wrecks. One of them was a full replacement based on an insurance that we have with our key risk folks. We have full replacement on our buses that I think are 10 years old and newer, something of that nature. So That's already paid for itself this year. So very happy that we were able to do that. And then the other half of the page just tells you where we put all the money. The next 2 pages are also balanced themselves. That's just mainly housekeeping that we do at this time of the year. So you will see that the total budget amendment, balanced budget for a little bit over $1 million. That will come to the next budget committee meeting. The second budget amendment that you will see all by itself is for $135,000. That one's already been approved by the budget committee. That is for the insurance replacement where we're redoing Greenbrier Middle School's floor for the second time. And I just got a picture where they have already fixed the sprinkler heads. Make a long story short, we redid the Greenbrier Middle School gym, 300 some odd thousand when you look at paint and redoing everything. And then as the sucker was drying, we had wax. It was gorgeous, beautiful gym, Bob. Sprinkler line busted, got water underneath it, and it started buckling up. So we turned it into insurance right away. Trey helped us out. Got to give him a shout out. And we already have the insurance check in for $135,000, and they've already taken up the old floor and they're redoing the new one. So if it looks anywhere close to the way it did, it's beautiful. We repainted everything, but we got the full insurance amount because we turned in the entire floor. Now that they've taken up the entire floor, the water actually crawled under the floor and made it to the other side of the gym. So it was a good call because it would have, there was talk of only doing half the floor because you don't think the water would travel that far. And Hughes Construction, who did the project, said, I'd do it all because you're already starting to buckle at the mid-court line. So we did. It was a good call. We just didn't know how far the water traveled until we got it back up. So that one's already been approved by the budget committee, just because we have to turn it around that quickly. And matter of fact, I think we got that paperwork, that afternoon, and they were able to approve it. So any questions on the budget amendments?
Not for me, sir.
All right. I will have to, I thought I actually had this in my packet, but I'll grab one of yours. The other 6A, we found, we actually take our school board policies sometimes, my bad, they're just out of order. Maybe I didn't give you these because they're school board policies, but I'll just make the long and short of it. The 2 major policies three, I guess, we don't have any goals, or we didn't have any goals, and some of our hiring school board policies to set a goal to have diverse educators, meaning that we want to set a goal that says we want to hire teachers that look like our kids. And that hasn't been a goal in our board policy. So TSBA said it needs to be. So the board voted on that and first reading and expect that to pass. And it's just a matter of setting a goal every year that says this is how many diverse educators we're going to try to hire. The thing is, with Metro snatching up all our Tennessee State University graduates, that's very difficult. Most of the TSU folks that graduate with an education degree, they want to stay in Metro and teach. They don't want to come to Robinson County and teach. So that's very difficult, but we go to the TSU job fair, we go to the Kentucky State job fair, we go to a lot of our minority colleges, and we try to recruit as best as we can. But now we have a goal in our board policy that tells us to do that.
Dr. Coffey?
Yes.
With these teachers at Metro, is there any, you get, maybe more than 1 or 2 after they've taught in Metro for a couple of years or whatever?
Sometimes they see that the money's just not worth it. And especially this past year, I was in line purchasing something, got into a conversation during COVID with a teacher that didn't want to be virtual all year long. Of course they were, or they have been for the most part. And she's going to stick around this year because she's committed. But I think we're going to hire her in the fall.
Okay.
So a lot of times it's a big deal, that community feel that we have. Chrysler presented on Monday night at the board meeting, and it was all about community and the culture that they create there at Chrysler. You just don't get that everywhere. We're special. So I think people are starting to see that. So another board policy that was suspended was state testing being counted as part of the child's grade. That won't happen this year either, for obvious reasons, so they suspended it. And one of the board policies that we did allow to lapse, the board just chose not to take action, was the COVID-19 local leave. If you remember, we had that 10 days that we could pay for quarantine, just like the county did. We extended that, the board extended that starting from January. It expires at the end of March, and the board's letting it expire. So starting in April, if you have to quarantine or whatever the case may be, then you can use your sick days to do so, or vacation days. You don't get the COVID-19 days. So that was the board policy. Tennessee Voices, just want to let you know that we have a big partnership with Centerstone right now. They're in our schools. They talk to our kids. They counsel our kids. But a lot of our schools, or a few of our schools, actually have more cases than Centerstone can take. So through our grant with Unanimous Way, we just, I know someone who works for someone, that kind of thing. We found an organization called Tennessee Voices who wants to offer the same type of services, not only to our kids, but also to families. So we have an MOU with them now that allows them to do so. And we're doing that, I think, at 3 or 4 of our schools. And we'll expand it if we need to. So that's exciting. And of course, the big topic, and this came in front of the Finance Committee yesterday, was the mowing bid. And I think I did give you that copy. Just want to let you know there were 4 bids that went out, and Stewart's Lawn Care was actually the lowest bid on all of them. But in our bid specs, we always placed that you can only have 2, you can't have more than 2 quadrants because it's a lot of mowing. And last time we let somebody do all 4, they just didn't get it done. So Stewart chose the south and the central quadrant for the upcoming year, and Wyatt's Lawn and Landscaping, which is Wyatt Plank out of Joe Burns, got the other 2 bids, and he'll take good care of us. We increased the number of mows to 25. We also decreased the number of days between each mow to 8, and it was 11. So I think our school grounds are going to be looking a lot better when they start in April. So any questions about the school board meeting? But before I get into facility plans and zonings and all that good stuff. Mr. Haley, you good? I assume he's good.
All right.
All right.
I am, sir. Sorry, couldn't get it off mute.
I'm looking to see who else had joined us. The big news is we're coming back to school on March the 22nd. All teachers, can't say enough about the health department, all teachers who want to will have had their second vaccination by April the 1st. So we're bringing students back that were on the hybrid. We had, the Monday, Tuesday kids, we had the Thursday, Friday kids, and then we actually had the Wednesday kids that got the 3rd day because they weren't doing so hot. So we brought them in on Wednesday, but starting on the day we come back, all hybrid kids will come back 5 days a week, 100% of the time. And we're very excited about that. I just gave you the vaccine update. Just let you know, had a good meeting at Coopertown Elementary School today. We are down to a punch list, of course, at the admin wing. We got some very minor details. We've ordered some, or we're about to order some furniture for the office. Want to walk everybody through there once we're not having to wear booties anymore, and then the classroom wing that's got 15 brand new classrooms should be down to a punch list relatively soon. Right now there's no fear of delaying school or anything in the fall. Right now the cafeteria is the big elephant in the room, and getting that sucker built, but everything else should be pretty much taken care of. So very excited about that project. Greenbrier Middle, we just talked about the insurance money. They've already taken up that floor and they're re-putting it in. That should put us about a month behind schedule. And they should be ready for basketball in May for tryouts and those kind of things. We're open. The big thing I wanted to share with you, I guess, tonight, and like I said, the board didn't vote on it. It was just a discussion, is the big packet that you have called the Capital Facilities Plan for the school system. So it's kind of like this. The first 2 pages are really 2 thoughts. The first page is one that we've been talking about for quite a while. If you look on phase 2020, we didn't move it ahead 5 years. We just kept the one from last year. And if you notice, Cooper Elementary School renovations are on there. And then at phase 2021, you're looking at architect design fees at Westside, Chrysler, Springfield Middle. That has not changed from the plan that you saw, I guess, about a year ago, or even possibly 2 years ago. One of the things that you will see on this one, though, is land acquisition. And the board had a board retreat a couple weeks ago at the library, and we started talking about the need for an elementary school on your way to White House. One of the things we know about the growth in White House, we're trying to prepare for it, as we know, but all the indication that we've gotten is those families moving into the White House area are young couples with very young children, or older couples with no children, or they're done having children. Which means when you look at our two elementary schools at Woodall, which is a K-2 school, and Heritage Elementary, which is a 3-5 school, they don't have any room either. So the conversation kind of shifted away from that middle school that we've been talking about for a long time, since Heritage is 712, to an elementary school need. So we went ahead and put that just so we can start talking about it. And so you'll see land acquisition, and then you'll see the new elementary school shortly the year after. Like I said, these are a lot of ideas, and you'll see the new Heritage Middle School that got pushed down the road a little bit just because we thought the need for a new elementary school. And then, for some reason, an idea came out from Ms. Bargatze, school board member from White House, and the principal. And the big topic, if you watch the planning session, was White House Heritage Elementary School. White House Heritage Elementary School, we renovated for kids to stay there as high school students while we were in the process of building Heritage High School. It has a home ec, or what they now call Family and Consumer Sciences. It has an ag shop. It has an art room. It has a science lab with gas at an elementary school. It has a field house around back. It has a football field where they used to practice football, but they would play their games at the park. This is before Heritage was built. So it has bones that we could, with some renovation money, not walking tomorrow, we could turn into a middle school relatively easy. So it's starting to make not a whole lot of sense to build a middle school when we almost have one already. And then we could have the elementary school built for cheaper than a new middle school, further down maybe the Bethlehem area, Distillery Road, somewhere in that area, that would pull from White House, which is growing. It would also help maybe a little bit with the Greenbrier, maybe a little bit of the East Robertson, maybe a little bit coming up 76 on Springfield. Would really help out a lot for the K-5 world. And then we'd still have the middle school that we're going to have to build at some point anyway. So that's the second page that you've got, which actually takes a middle school off the page. And it actually still does the land. It deals with the renovation of the elementary school. And like I said, the board is still discussing this. They will continue to discuss it with the April planning session that they plan on having. Did I hit everything? All right, I just make sure I got it all. But
I think that's an excellent idea, converting the Heritage Elementary School back to a middle school. I was on the commission when it was the high school, middle school before, and I think you're using a lot of foresight going back and converting it to a middle school. I can't say enough kudos for you on that.
Well, I can't take credit for it. I'll give that credit to Ms. Bargatze and Ms. Earhart over there. But I did reach out to Commissioner Hoover, head of the Budget Committee, and of course he's commissioner from that area, and he seemed to like the idea as well. So I think we've got, of course, a lot of details to work out, but that field house has been vandalized a little bit. That's what happens.
Yeah.
But I mean, they've got locker rooms right now that have they use them for storage. And we could turn them back into locker rooms relatively easy. So it's an exciting time. As we start looking at Highway 76 for property, y'all just keep me posted if you hear anything, and we'll move forward.
Okay, you cut out on me on that. So we still don't have. You're gonna look for property. You don't have a site yet. Is that what Did I
That,
understand you that?
yeah, we have property right behind the high school. We've got a good amount of property behind the high school, because that's where we're talking about building a middle school one of these days. But
Right.
it doesn't seem right to build an elementary school on the same property of a high school when the middle school's somewhere else. So we may just hold tight to that. We're working with the city White House to talk about whether or not we want to extend that road all the way over to, Pinson School Road, where the new subdivision is. And we have the ability to do that. It's just a matter of when we're going to do that.
Okay.
If you ever go to Heritage, that road wraps all the way around the back. And the thought is we might want to continue that road all the way to where the subdivision is being built back there. Have a back entrance to Heritage High, should I say.
But the more you move, I'm sorry, go ahead, Commissioner Haley.
I was just going to say, all that sounds really good.
Okay, well, I was gonna say, the more that is moved westward, the more advantageous it could be to the rest of the county.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Which is why, it's funny because, we had a behavior school at JDAC at one point. That's an old school. It was the Oakland School, I think is we're talking about many, long before I got here. But as you move closer to Springfield, then that elementary school can help a whole lot of folks out, just not White House. So we're excited about that. The rest of this whole packet is separates gym floor. We've never had this type of a plan for gym floors and bleachers. And we've just kind of piecemealed, some of those repairs together. So this is, these next two pages show a lot of love to Pat Brown, our athletic director, and Mr. Jimmy Finch, as they got together and talked about some of the work that we need to do on our gym floors. And if you've ever been to some of these gyms, you'll know what I'm talking about. That includes bleachers. And the rest of it, just to let you know, we had an auditor that came in that actually worked with all of our bleachers and said, this is what needs to be fixed. So that's just for your information. We had that done not too long ago. And then you'll also see a 5-year plan for roofs and for HVAC. And like I said, it does go kind of on and on. Windows, just good reading when you get a chance. But just know we were excited. We learned this afternoon that the House of Representatives in Washington did approve the president's COVID relief, whatever they're calling it. The school system, if the president signs that, Robertson County School System will be getting close to about $15.5 million of new money that we can use for afternoon tutoring, learning loss camps, things to help our kids close that gap. Maybe a little bit more facility work. You know me, I'm always going to try to squeeze facility money out. But the reason I mentioned HVAC is because right now we have about $6 million or so that we're going to replace and refurbish, or not refurbish, but actually move up. My mind just went blank. Improve the HVAC at Kreisel, West Side, and Springfield Middle. They've got those window units. Right now we have 2 companies that have walked through that. We're not looking for prices because I know I can't do that legally for professional services, but we asked for a narrative of what they would like to do. Train, who of course we have that, our energy savings, as well as ESG, who's the company that did Brantford. So they're both walking through that, and we've got some information back already. But that will not be local money at all. That will be ESSER 2.0 funds that we're able to improve the HVAC without touching local dollars. So we're very excited about that. Anytime you get $6 million to improve the air that our kids breathe on in, it's going to be a good thing. CO2 levels, by the way, about 3 times what they should be in a lot of our rooms. And that's because there's no outside air. If you think about it, we used to have all those windows open and we had no HVAC. Now we've closed the windows, we put in window units, and we have a boiler. There's very little outside air that comes in those rooms. So we're going to take care of those kiddos. Moving on, the other, the 2 more topics that we have is zoning. And also in your packet, you will see kind of a timeline of some community meetings let me get to it here. This fall, Springfield Middle School will actually consist of grades 6 through 9. Sixth grade will be Innovation Academy only. Ninth grade will be Innovation Academy only because they're eighth graders that are there this year. Seventh and eighth grade will have a combination of IA and Springfield Middle School kids, just so we can transition kids to the new zone 1 year at a time. The two pictures that you have are not set in concrete. That's why we have community meetings. But the very first picture that you have with all the yellow in it is pretty much the way the zones look now. That is Springfield Middle in the yellow. That will continue to be what we are going to call the IA zone. Our Innovation Academy has to be 60% in zone, 40% out of zone. That's the way the DOJ designed it. That's the way we agreed to it. Those two percentages will continue. However, if you look at the second, and no, we didn't fix the color. I've already been asked that question. Because if you look at the second map, you will see that little purple in the middle is now Coopertown. So if you live in the dark purple or the light purple, you're in sixth grade. This is sixth grade only for the fall. You're going to go to Coopertown Middle School, and then you're going to turn around and go to Springfield High School when you're out. They still go to Springfield High. If you go that line that goes all the way up in the middle of the little box there, those are two different red colors. Of course, the ones on the left are Joe Burns, ones on the right are East Robertson. We didn't really touch a whole lot of anything else, honestly, for the incoming sixth grade. We are looking at about 100 or some odd kids that would have gone to Springfield Middle that in the fall will go to Coopertown Middle. So we'll be transitioning some teachers from Springfield Middle over to Coopertown Middle. And then the next grade, we'll do the seventh grade, or next year we'll do the seventh grade. Next year we'll do the eighth grade while we're adding a high school grade at the same time. I have a meeting with Clover next week where we're going to walk the property Springfield Middle and start talking about parking.
That's
Now
because
the city's giving us that property.
you mentioned the 60/40.
Yeah.
Okay, for the zone, is
Yeah.
that the zone as it is now, or is that the zone when the DOJ got involved a few years ago?
That's the zone that it is now.
Okay.
So right now with the lottery, I'm talking about the IA lottery, if you live in that yellow area, you're considered in zone.
Okay.
So what we do, we take all the kids that qualify, and if you live in zone, we have so many seats for you. If you live out of zone, we have so many seats for you. The question became, once we get rid of Springfield Middle School zone, how do you know who's in zone and who's out of zone? You know, could you say Crestview is considered in zone? If you come from Crestview, you're considered in zone. The problem with that is some of those kids, once they leave fifth grade, if they don't get the IA, they're zoned for Greenbrier Middle. So now all of a sudden they're not considered in zone anymore. So it's kind of an odd thing to think about. So we decided we were going to leave the zone the way it is right now. So if you're in the zone, if you're qualified for IA and you're considered an in zone seat, you're always going to be an in zone seat. And we have some kids that might qualify for IA and get to be there as a ninth grader, because we have some kids that have decided to go back to their school zones at the end of this school year. This is, I don't want to stay here as a high schooler. I'm going to go back to Greenbrier. I'm going to go back to Joe Burns, or I'm going to continue on to Springfield High, which is something they can do as well. And we're going to have 4 or 5 seats open. So as long as we don't break that 100, which the goal is 100 seats per grade in IA, that will make it a 700 student school when we're all said and done, which is a pretty good size for that school. So right now we're just talking about rezoning the incoming sixth graders. We do know that we have some siblings that may end up going to another school just because the parents don't want to go 2 different places, and we'll allow that. But you'll notice there's one more meeting that's not on this calendar that's being set up right now, and that's for Crestview. Because we wanted to have the meetings at the schools that were going to be affected the most. So you'll notice they're elementary schools except for Coopertown, and that's because Coopertown's the one getting most of the kids. and you'll see a timeline moving forward. But it's very exciting. This is something we've been talking about for years.
So, Dr. Causey, I got, if a kid is zoned, goes to Joe Burns and East Robertson for middle school, and their would have been zoned for Springfield Middle, do they have the option to go to Springfield High, or will they go to Joe Burns and East Robertson High School?
They'll continue on to that high school. If they've been rezoned, they'll just continue on to that high school.
Okay.
Yeah, Joe Burns is going to get a lot of kids coming up towards Chena Park. And then instead of coming back to Springfield High, they'll just continue on to Joe Burns High. So there's a lot of pieces to this. We've had not only middle school meetings, we've had athletic meetings with Coach Wilson at Springfield High. Because you think about, he's used to being fed by Springfield middle school students, and at some point he's not. So that takes another conversation. So you talk about branding, you talk about lots of things moving forward. Springfield Middle will continue to be called Springfield Middle until the last of the Springfield middle school kids are gone. We'll do that because they'll keep the same school number. We'll just call it Innovation Academy, Springfield Innovation Academy, or whatever the name happens to be at the time, but I don't think it'll change. But we'll just change names on the state record, and it will no longer be called Springfield. And the last item I have is our summer learning camps. Commissioner Moore, you reached out to me because we talked about a summer school back in February a little bit. And I am so pleased because I am not the smartest one in the room ever. I could be in a room by myself and I still wouldn't qualify. But I do have Miss Michelle Galuzzi, our middle school coordinator, on here, and our supervisor, Miss Melanie Dickerson, elementary supervisor, who have been working on this plan for our K through 8. The state, understanding that there are a whole lot of learning gaps because of virtual kids and hybrid kids, they have given us some funds that we will be able to run a summer school like we've never run it before. If you remember back in the day, it was half-day camps. It was 19 days, the month of June, and now we're talking about almost full days. So I wanted to share with you some things that we know now. We got more guidance today, so it's kind of you're flying a ship while you're building it. But if you look at it, grades K through 8 summer learning camps, Monday through Thursday, so 4 days a week. You'll see the dates that we have, 2 weeks in June, 2 weeks in July. It is a 6-hour day, which is something we've never done in the summer. But you'll see that the schedule there, teachers' work day is 7 hours. Believe it or not, teachers are signing up to work this. I'll tell you why in a minute. Now, the Stream Mini Camp, if you hear about that on the news, we're actually going to schedule that in the fall, and the state's allowed us to do that. So it was originally the plan was to tack it on to the end of a 7-hour day. Could you imagine a kid being in the summer and having an 8-hour day of school? No matter how much fun you're having, it's a long day. So we asked if we could just move that to the fall, and they've given us permission to do that. Number 5 is the one I love. All K-5 schools are approved to host a program if there's at least one class per grade. So you're going to see this in every single one of our K-5 schools. I think the numbers are back enough to know that we're going to have at least one grade level class in every school in every grade. If you look at that, it's going to be funded at a ratio of one teacher for every 13 children. So having 20, 25, 30 in a class for summer school, not going to happen this summer. It's going to be about 13 to 1, but a minimum of 15 of our priority students should be confirmed for each class. And when we say priority, we are talking about our economically disadvantaged students who may not have access to any other resources in the summer. So we're excited about that. Middle school, you see, approved to host summer camps will be based on participation as well. If you look at it, so teachers will be paid $1,400 a week In the olden days, we used to pay them $1,400 a month. So now, mind you, it was a half a day. I always tell a story. The last day was always the Friday before July 4th weekend, the end of June. And we'd always get our check, we'd go cash our check, and then we'd drive to Florida. That's what we did when I was a young teacher. Of course, people don't do that anymore, I don't think. But because of the state money, because of the grant that we're getting, we're going to be able to pay teachers $1,400 a week in order to teach this grant, or to teach this school. And that includes having an administrator there as well. So it's pretty exciting stuff, especially when we don't necessarily have to pay for it out of our own budget like we've had to do in the past. And I've got the experts on the line if you've got any questions.
I guess the question I would have with this is there, and I know this will serve a lot of kids in need, but what about some of these kids that just have missed out during this COVID and have fallen behind? Is there any program other than this that will help them along or make up?
Other than this, but they can enroll in this.
Okay.
Yeah. The priority kids have to have, a seat.
Yeah.
Bottom line is. But if you sign up for it, you go. I mean, we've sent out surveys, and kids have already signed up. So as far as, I think it's going to be the best program in town. And if you notice, it's 2 weeks. We try not to kill kids during the summer.
Yeah.
So there's enough break there. We try to also, if you notice, that's also no school during the dead period, which is where a lot of families take their vacations during the summer anyway. Last week of June, first week of July. So you won't see that. But no, any child who signs up for camp, I do believe we're going to go. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. So
Yeah.
it's not limited to X number of kids for the 2 week period.
And here's the neat thing. Now it's being funded at 13-1. So I'll say that. And but I will say the neat thing, we won't have, if we have really, really good participation, we may not have enough money to pay for all of it. But we do have ESSER money that the state has already said, if you need more funds, you can use ESSER to cover the rest of that.
Okay. All right.
The original amount actually was $14 per classroom, and 1,000 of it went to the teacher and 400 went to supplies and whatnot. We decided that $1,000 a week, after what teachers have been through all year long, probably wasn't going to cut it. We weren't getting a whole lot of participation when they said, "Hey, you want to come do it for $1,000 a week?" I'm tired. So we actually took the whole $1,400 amount and we put it towards teachers, and then we're going to use ESSER money to take care of any gaps that we have. So.
Do you see this being an ongoing program?
No, we've always had school, but we've never had it like this. And that is because of the fact that the state stepped in and said, pretty much, you will do this. It wasn't a, you can do it if you want to. They pretty much said, you will do it, but this is how we're going to fund it for you. Whereas in the past, it was kind of a, if you can come, great. If you can host it, great. And we've had a great summer school in the past, some great summer programs. We've had an EL camp that we take kids to the zoo. We've done a lot of great programs during summer, but this is going to be intense. You notice it's going to be 6 hours a day, 2 hours reading, 2 hours math, an hour of PE, and an hour of intervention that does nothing but focuses on the gaps that you have. So when you think about that, that's a pretty good day. Pretty good day.
There will not be any what we would normally call summer school.
No, this is summer school. This is
okay.
summer school. High school will have a summer school.
Okay.
It's 19 days, kind of like what it's always been. It is using an online program with teachers helping the kids get their credits back. It is a credit recovery program at the high school.
That was my question, or the basis of it.
It's not really about gaps. It's about we need to get you credits to graduate.
Okay.
We're still continuing to do that as well.
All right.
Yeah, thanks for explaining that to me and Mr. Moore. We discussed that after our last meeting, and we had some confusion between two of us on how this was all paying.
Yeah, luckily, if you're kindergarten through 12th grade and you need to work on stuff this summer, you've got the chance to do it. Yeah.
Hey, Dr. Causey.
Yes, ma'am.
I did not think about this until I was listening to you share the information about the new program, but One other thing that will be offered to families is the kindergarten orientation that we've done every year, but it's for incoming, our new students, incoming kindergartners. So I wanted to make sure we had that out there as well.
Thank you, ma'am. Like I said, you keep me straight. I'd forgotten all about it. So, because the first time that kindergartners get into school shouldn't be August. So that's exciting.
Is that a multi-day program as well?
So, second.
The kindergarten orientation, is that several days?
How long is that, Ms. Dickerson?
It is just like a couple of weeks, maybe a couple of hours a day. It's not a very long program. It's just the purpose of that is just to introduce families to the school environment and to get students familiar with their school, like where is the cafeteria, where is the gym, and that sort of thing. And they start to work on some procedures during that time.
Thank you, ma'am.
We have any other questions for Dr. Causey or for anyone else, I guess? I guess with that, it's.
I got a few questions for you. Just talking about what the summer program, or are we talking about some other? I've got a couple of other questions when Dr. Causey's ready, and they'll be softball questions. So
go ahead, shoot me a softball.
How many portables do we have at Greenbrier Middle?
Oh, I think we're looking at about 4, with 2 of them being double portables, I think. Yeah, we've got a small little portable city out there. So when you look at that facility plan and you see renovations, in my mind, we're talking about putting another wing where those portables are sitting, as well as an auditorium, and then cleaning up the rest of it, the building.
That's wonderful. I did not want us to get in the same shape at Greenbrier Middle that we wound up at Chrysler. I was hoping we could get ahead of that.
Yeah, yes, sir. That's why you see it on the plan now. We're ready to get started on that one.
Okay, and what the president just signed with this 1.9 trillion or whatever the final count is on what they passed today, then the money that we'll receive in county, you got any idea how that will affect our maintenance effort, or if it will?
No, it's one-time money, so it won't. Yeah, we've talked about that quite a bit because it is one-time money. And it will not, it's not going to affect what we do at the county level.
That's all I have, Mr. Moore. I told you they were softball.
Unless you want to continue giving us $16 million a year, and if you choose to do that, I'd be okay with that too.
I just kind of choked a little bit, Chris, when I saw that number.
Yeah,
I was hoping this was the conversation we would have.
Yes, sir. And like I said, they warn us about using one-time funds for positions because eventually one-time funds go away, and then you have to find a way to fund those positions. One of we are looking at a few positions with these funds, but it's really things that may not last that long anyway. I'll give you, for instance, one of them is a grant writer. We need someone to be in charge of all these funds and to be in charge of these grants, and as well as apply for other grants. That may not be a position we keep around for a long time, but use them as we need them. So those are the type of positions we're thinking about using these funds for. But we don't have the guidance per se on what we can use these funds for and what we can't. So we decided we just cross that bridge once the president signed it and we got details from the state.
Well, I was going to talk to you about that offline, but I'm almost to the point of thinking that we could use a grant writer for the whole county, school as well as the rest of the county. And I was going to run by you what you thought about that.
I totally agree. And matter of fact, that conversation started with I think me and Mayor Vogel, and maybe me and even Mayor Bradley before that. And I definitely think that's a direction I'd be in favor of going with a grant writer for the entire county, because, and you can have those grant writers pay for themselves, as in, your salary depends on the grants that you come in. So, that's kind of something that we can talk about, Mayor. I know you're on the phone, so, we'll get together soon and we'll talk about that as well.
Anything from you, Commissioner Stroud?
Okay. Well, I did have a question about the Springfield Middle kind of going all Innovation Academy. When do you think that will?
Well, this coming fall, we'll have 6th through 9th. 6th grade will be IA, 9th grade will be IA, and a mix in the middle. The next year, it'll be 6th and 7th grade will be IA, and 9th and 10th grade will be IA, and 8th graders may have a few Springfield Middle. At the next year, which is the junior year of these kiddos, it'll be all IA. And then we need to have the parking done by then, because they'll be driving. And we've also got, the bottoms down there. And of course, we've got some ball fields down there that we could possibly do for some spring sports. That IA would actually have their own teams, kind of like a Merle Hyde. They'll try to have their own teams. If they don't have enough participation, then they can co-op with Springfield High School, which is pretty exciting.
It will be limited to one high school that they co-op with.
We have to, yeah. TSSAA rules say you have to co-op with one high school for all sports. So,
All right.
Okay. But then that's.
So would you let it, I'm sorry, Commissioner Stroud, go ahead. I interrupted you.
No, go ahead. That's fine.
So would you let a student move early to the school he was going to wind up at? So
Yeah.
if that 8th grader wanted to go before, wanted to go early, would you allow that?
We would. We think we're going to have those situations when there's a sibling involved. So if you've got a 6th grader that does not get into IA and they've been rezoned for East, but their 8th grade brother is still at Springfield Middle and they want to go to East too, and we're going to allow that.
Okay.
We'll just have to deal with those situations as they come. Because transportation is the juggernaut there, sir.
Yes, I agree.
Man, I was looking, I had scratch notes on stuff I had questions about.
We're going to have the Springfield area blown up to where you can see it street by street, and what the board has seen is a map with little white dots that tells them where every single 6th grader lives in the county. So we know how many kids are going to go. And once that gets approved, then we'll have a spreadsheet that's got all of the 6th grade names on it and says, this is where you were going to school, this is where you're going to school now. And that works with transportation pretty well.
Okay.
We can feed that into the system and let GPS markers take care of it.
All right. Anything else? I guess we could entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion by Mr. Stroud. Objection?
None.
All right.
I just want to say, good job, Chris. Enjoyed it.
Hey, thank you, Commissioner Haley. Thank you, Ms. Kalis.